I don't believe in celebrating their death. It's not something I can take lightly, and frankly, I think it says more about us when we celebrate tragedy than it does about the person we disagree with. Hey everyone, this is Sage. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about someone who's become a pretty big name in American politics over the years, especially among younger conservatives, Charlie Kirk. Now, whether you like him or not, you've probably seen his face on social media, YouTube, or maybe even on the news. But if you're not familiar, let's break down who he is, what he's about, and why people either strongly support him or strongly criticize him. Charlie Kirk grew up in Illinois, and instead of going the traditional college route, he jumped straight into political activism. At just 18 years old, he co-founded Turning Point USA. That's a non-profit organization that sets up chapters in high schools and colleges, college campuses across the country. Their main mission to promote conservative values like free market, limited government, and what they call traditional American principles. Basically, they want to be the counterbalance to what they see as left-leaning or progressive dominance in schools. Turning Point USA started small, but today it's huge. It has a lot of funding, thousands of student members, and it hosts major events where conservative politicians and speakers show up. Charlie Kirk really rose to prominence during the Trump years. He became one of the loudest supporters of Donald Trump among young conservatives. You could often see him at rallies, on TV, or quoted in the news defending Trump's policies and pushing back against critics. He's also tied into the wider conservative movement. Think figures like Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, or Matt Walsh. But Kirk's style is a little different. He's less focused on debates and more on rallying energy, especially on college campuses and social media. So in a way, he's not just an activist, he's also a strategist. He works on getting, younger voters engaged and making sure conservative message has a strong presence among Generation Z and millennials. Now, like most high-profile political figures, Charlie Kirk isn't without controversy. His supporters praise him for being bold, unapologetic, willing to stand up for conservative students who feel silenced on campuses. But critics say he oversimplifies issues, spreads misinformation, and sometimes leans into culture war rhetoric that stirs division more than it builds bridges. So, depending on who you ask, he's either a much-needed fighter for freedom of speech and conservative values, or he's a polarizing figure who fuels unnecessary conflict. So that's the rundown on Charlie Kirk, conservative activist, founder of Turning Point, and he's an author, podcast host, and a major influence in the right-wing politics. So, love him or hate him, he's definitely made an impact, especially in energizing younger conservatives and shaping how political battles are fought on campuses and online. Now I want to move on into the main thing that's been on my mind lately. I'm sure many of you have heard already the tragic news. Charlie Kirk was shot while speaking at an event in Utah and later passed away at the hospital. It's something that shook me, not just because of who he is, but because of what this says about the times we're living in. When I first heard this news, I saw the reactions online, videos, posts, comment sections. Some people were devastated, others, sadly, were celebrating almost gleefully about it. And I've got to be honest with you, that part disturbed me the most. No matter how much you disagree with someone, whether it's a family member, a local politician, or a national figure like Kirk, I don't believe in celebrating their death. It's not something I can take lightly, and frankly, I think it says more about us when we celebrate tragedy than it does about the person we disagree with. Here's where I'm coming from. I don't agree with everything Charlie Kirk said or stood for. Some of his views, honestly, are not on the same plane as mine, but at the end of the day, he was a human being, a husband, a father, a son, a friend to many. From what I've seen on his Instagram and in different clips, he seems to deeply love his family, and that's something that transcends politics. The family he left behind, they're the ones who have to carry this pain now. And I hope they not only find healing, but that justice is served for what happened. It's easy to get caught up in political storms, but when you strip that away, what you're left with is a grieving family. That should humble all of us. Now, let's assume the shooter acted out of disagreement with Kirk's politics. That raises a bigger issue we need to talk about. How do we handle disagreements? Because here's my take. I firmly believe in disagreement. Disagreement is natural, healthy, and necessary in a free society. But the moment disagreement crosses into violence, harassment, and abuse, that's when we've lost the plot. You don't have to like someone's views. You don't have to support their message. But you do have a responsibility not to harm them because of it. We should be able to just say, I disagree with you, and then move on with our lives. How do we move on though? Well, the real fight isn't in bullets or fists. The real fight is in the voting box, in the public square, and in our conversations with one another. We battle through reason. We battle through honest dialogue. We battle through healthy debate. That's what a civil society is supposed to be about. If you don't like someone's ideas, challenge them. Argue back. Write, speak, persuade. But don't let anger take you to a place where you think the only way to respond is through violence. That's not strength, that's weakness. Violence is the shortcut of people who've run out of arguments. And this isn't just about Charlie Kirk. This is bigger. This could be about anyone. Today it was Kirk. Tomorrow it could be somebody else you disagree with. If we normalize celebrating death and violence against people we disagree with, we're building a culture that eats itself alive. because eventually that energy comes back around. Today it's your political enemy, tomorrow it's someone you love. We have to reject that cycle. We need to create a culture where disagreement doesn't equal dehumanization, where we can say, I don't like your views, but I will still defend your right to express them. That's the foundation of any society that wants to last. So, as I reflect on Charlie Kirk's passing, here's my bottom line. I didn't agree with all of his ideas, but I will never celebrate his death. Because the moment we celebrate someone's death for having different views, we've lost something deep and important in ourselves. I hope his family finds peace. I hope justice is carried out. And I hope all of us take this as a reminder. Disagreement is okay. Division is inevitable sometimes. But violence, harassment, and celebrating tragedy, that's a line we should never cross. Let's keep our fights where they belong, in ideas, in conversations, in debates, and in the ballot box. That's how we move forward. Alright guys, that's where I'll leave it for today. If what I shared resonated with you and you've been enjoying the content, don't forget to hit the like button, share this video with someone who might appreciate it, and of course, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And just as a reminder, wherever you are, aim to build a more peaceful and more productive society. Hate and hostility don't get us anywhere, but understanding and respect can take us a long way. Thanks for spending this time with me, and I'll see you in the next video.